My boss fired me to hire his entitled son, so I took the entire client list with me. I, 32 male, am currently sitting in a home office that smells like fresh paint and aggressive amounts of coffee, watching my former employer's reputation disintegrate in real time. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing for 3 hours, and honestly, the vibration is the most soothing thing I've felt in months. To understand why I am about to ruin a 60-year-old man's life with a smile on my face, you have to understand the nature of our business. I work in high-end boutique logistics. We don't move boxes. We move miracles. If a Saudi prince needs a racehorse in Kentucky by Tuesday, or a tech CEO needs a prototype server rack in Tokyo without customs opening the crate and exposing the IP, they called my firm. Or rather, they called me. For 7 years, I was the director of operations. I built the white glove division from a dusty Rolodex into a $12 million a year revenue stream. I missed my best friend's wedding to get a client's art collection out of a country undergoing a coup. I spent Christmas Eve in a freezing warehouse in Newark ensuring medical equipment wasn't seized. I didn't just work there. I was the infrastructure. I knew the customs agents by name. I knew which port authorities accepted expedited fees and which ones were strictly by the book. My boss, the owner, let's call him Richard, 60s, was the kind of guy who thought paying you a salary meant he owned your soul. He was old school, heavy leather furniture, scotch at 2 p.m., and a firm belief that employees were interchangeable cogs. He was cheap, he was arrogant, and he took credit for every win I handed him. But he left me alone because I made him rich. As long as the checks cleared, he didn't care how the sausage was made. Then came Braden, 24 male. Braden is Richard's son. He graduated with a degree in business management from a college known more for its keg stands than its curriculum. He walked in 6 months ago as the new VP of Strategy. The first day, Braden walked into my office without knocking, wearing a suit that cost more than my car, and sat on the edge of my desk, knocking over a stack of bills of lading. "So," he said, chewing gum loudly, "you're the mule? You do the heavy lifting?" I didn't look up from my monitor. I was in the middle of routing a shipment of vintage Ferraris to Monaco. "I manage the clients, Braden." "Right, logistics, boring. I'm here to disrupt. We need to pivot to blockchain-integrated supply chain tracking, AI logistics, tech." He spoke in LinkedIn buzzwords. He didn't know the difference between a bill of lading and a commercial invoice. I ignored him. I thought he was just a pest I had to tolerate, like the bad coffee in the break room or the flickering fluorescent light in the hallway. I was wrong. He wasn't a pest. He was a cancer. Over the next few months, Braden started meddling. He'd override my shipping routes to save a few $100, resulting in delays that cost us thousands. He insulted a Japanese client, a man who demands absolute formality, by calling him by his first name and slapping him on the back during a video call. I spent half my week apologizing for Braden's innovations. I went to Richard about 2 months in. I sat in his office and laid it out. He's going to lose us the manufacturing account I want. He tried to renegotiate the fuel surcharge without reading the master service agreement. They're furious. You need to rein him in. Richard didn't even look up from his putting green practice mat in the corner of the office. "He's learning," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "He's got vision. You need to be more supportive. He's the future of this company. Stop being jealous." "Jealous, Richard? He almost got a shipment seized because he didn't want to pay the bond." "Fix it," Richard snapped. "That's what I pay you for. And show him some respect. He's your superior." That was the first crack. But the break happened last Friday. It was 4:30 p.m. I was wrapping up a complex route for a client moving hazardous materials, totally legal, but requiring mountains of paperwork. Richard called me into his office. Braden was sitting in the corner, smirking, scrolling on his phone. The vibe was off immediately. "Sit down," Richard said. He didn't offer me a drink, which he usually did on Fridays. "We're making some structural changes," Richard started, avoiding eye contact. He was shuffling papers, looking everywhere but at me. Braden has developed a new automated platform. It makes the senior operations role redundant. I stared at him. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Redundant? I handle 70% of your revenue personally. The clients call my cell phone, Richard. They don't call the main line. The algorithm handles it now, Braden piped up, looking incredibly pleased with himself. It's leaner, more agile. We don't need expensive middlemen eating up commission. We're letting you go, Richard said, finally looking at me. Effective immediately. Okay, I said, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. I'll need my severance package as per my contract and my commission payout for the quarter. It's about $40,000. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. It wasn't a check. It was a disciplinary notice. We're firing you for cause. I picked it up. It was a list of insubordination incidents. Every single one of them was an instance where I stopped Braden from doing something illegal or catastrophically stupid. Refusal to implement VP strategy, Richard read. Hostility in the workplace. We're fighting the unemployment claim, and there is no severance. Section 9 of your contract states that gross insubordination voids the payout. You're firing me to hire him, I said, pointing at Braden. You're inventing cause to save money. It's a family business, Richard shrugged. Security is outside to escort you. Leave your laptop and phone. Braden laughed. Don't worry, old-timer. I'll take good care of your clients. I'm already scheduling calls to onboard them to the new app. The future is now. I stood up. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I looked at Richard, a man I had made millions for, and then at his son, who looked like he was cosplaying a CEO. You really should have checked with legal before you did this, I said quietly. I am the law here, Richard said. I walked out. I let the security guard walk me to my car. I drove home, opened a beer, and sat in the dark for about an hour. Then I remembered something. Here is the thing about Richard. He was cheap. 7 years ago, when I started as a junior manager, I signed a standard employment contract with a non-compete clause. It stated I couldn't work for a competitor or solicit clients for 2 years within a 50-mile radius. But 3 years ago, I was promoted from manager to director. My duties changed. My compensation changed. I was supposed to sign a new contract. I asked Richard for it 3 times. He kept saying, "My lawyers are drafting it. We'll sign it next week." He didn't want to pay the legal fees to draft a new executive agreement. He never sent it. And the old contract? It had a specific sunset clause. It expired if my role changed significantly or if I was employed for more than 5 years without a renewal. I checked the PDF on my personal cloud drive. It was right there in black and white. I was legally a free agent, and because I used my personal cell phone for 90% of my client calls because Richard was too cheap to pay for a company roaming plan, I had every single number. I didn't steal a database. I didn't download a spreadsheet. That would be theft of trade secrets. I simply had relationships with people who trusted me more than they trusted the company logo. Monday morning, I registered my own LLC, Prime Logistics. I didn't call the clients. I didn't solicit them. That can get sticky in court. Instead, I changed my LinkedIn status to Founder Prime Logistics and made a simple post. After 7 incredible years, I have moved on to a new venture focused on personalized, high-touch service. Grateful for the journey. Then, I waited. It took 4 hours. The first call was from Mr. Sato, the Japanese manufacturing mogul Braden had insulted. "You left?" Sato asked. No pleasantries. "I did," I said. "It was time for a change." "I have a shipment of semiconductors stuck in customs in LA, Sato said. "The boy, the son, he sent me an email telling me to log a ticket in the portal. I do not log tickets. I pay for service." "I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Sato. I can't discuss your current provider, but if you're looking for a new vendor, my new firm is open for business." "Get you fix it?" "I can have it cleared in 2 hours." You are hired." That was the first domino. By Wednesday, I had heard from 6 major clients. The story was always the same. Braden had implemented an AI chatbot to handle urgent logistics issues. He had fired the 3 support staff members I had trained, good, hard-working people, and replaced them with this software to cut bloat. High-net-worth clients do not want to talk to a chatbot when their $500,000 shipment is missing. They want me. By Friday of the first week, I had moved $4 million in annual recurring revenue from Richard's firm to mine. Then the dirty tricks started. I received a cease and desist letter via courier. It was terrifyingly thick. It accused me of breach of contract, theft of trade secrets, tortious interference with business relations, and defamation. Richard was suing me for $5 million. Simultaneously, I started getting weird emails. Someone was signing my work email up for thousands of spam lists. Bad reviews started popping up on my new Google business page from accounts like Braden Rules 123, calling me a thief and a scammer. Then Richard called me. "You ungrateful little rat," he screamed into the phone. "I'm going to bury you. I have lawyers who will keep you in court until you're living under a bridge. Give the clients back." "They aren't cattle, Richard," I said. "They left because your son is incompetent." "He's learning. You sabotaged him. You stole the client list." "I didn't steal anything. They called me. And you know why? Because Braden told a client moving hazardous materials that he could probably skip the EPA permits if they paid in Bitcoin. Do you know that client forwarded me that email? That's a felony, Richard." Silence on the line. Then a click. I hired a lawyer. Let's call her Sarah. She's a shark in a silk blouse. I showed her my old contract and the emails from clients. She laughed. "This is cute. His non-compete is void because of the sunset clause, and even if it wasn't, he fired you without cause, which, in this state, weakens enforcement. But the theft of trade secrets is the only thing that might stick if he can prove you downloaded data." "I didn't," I said. "Good. We're going to a deposition." The deposition was 2 days ago. This is where the story really gets dark and really satisfying. We sat in a conference room. Richard, Braden, and their lawyer versus me and Sarah. Braden looked tired. He wasn't wearing a suit anymore. He was wearing a hoodie and looked like he hadn't slept. Richard looked murderous. They grilled me for 3 hours. "Did you download the CRM?" "No." "Did you export contacts?" "No." "Then how did you contact Mr. Sato?" "I didn't," I said calmly. "Mr. Sato called me because Braden told him to talk to a robot." Braden slammed his hand on the table. "That software cost $50,000. It's state-of-the-art." "It's a Squarespace plugin. I checked the code on the site. You overpaid by about $49,000. Their lawyer kicked Braden under the table. Then Sarah leaned forward. "We are countersuing for unpaid commissions and wrongful termination, but more importantly, we are submitting Exhibit B." She slid a folder across the table. "Remember how I said Braden was incompetent? Well, in his arrogance, he had tried to audit the books to prove I was wasting money. He wanted to show his dad that he was smarter than me. He found a column in the internal ledgers labeled Strategic Reserves. He saw that I hadn't been billing clients for this reserve. He thought I was leaving money on the table. So, in his infinite wisdom, Braden sent a mass email to the top 10 clients, the ones I had already poached, plus a few who were still on the fence. He attached a spreadsheet he thought showed my inefficiency. He wrote, "Dear valued client, please see the attached audit showing how the previous director failed to collect necessary fees. We will be adjusting your invoices moving forward to reflect the true cost of business." He thought the spreadsheet showed missed revenue. What the spreadsheet actually showed was the raw, unedited financial breakdown of the company's billing. It showed the cost column and the billed column, but it also showed a hidden column Richard used called customs facilitation. See, Richard had been charging clients for customs insurance for decades. He told them it was a mandatory government fee.
The spreadsheet clearly showed that the actual cost of this insurance was $0. He was pocketing the difference. It was a phantom fee, embezzlement, fraud. Braden, in his attempt to throw me under the bus, had accidentally emailed the irrefutable evidence of his father's fraud to the entire client base. I had received the email because one of the loyal clients forwarded it to me asking, "Is this real? Have I been overpaying for 10 years?" Richard picked up the paper. His hands started shaking. He looked at the numbers. He looked at the customs facilitation column highlighted in yellow. He looked at Braden. "You sent this?" Richard whispered. The air left the room. I was showing them we could be cheaper. No, wait, I was showing them we could charge more," Braden stammered. "I didn't know what that column was. I thought it was your slush fund for, golf trips." "You idiot," Richard said. The color drained from his face. This wasn't just a civil suit anymore. This was federal wire fraud. Sarah smiled. It was a terrifying smile. "Gentlemen, my client is willing to walk away from his countersuit for unpaid commissions. In exchange, you will drop this lawsuit with prejudice. You will issue a formal retraction of the defamation you've posted online, and you will sign a release agreeing never to contact him again. Or we take this spreadsheet to the Attorney General and the Forensic Accounting Board." Richard looked at his son. The realization hit him. He had fired the only person who knew how to run the business legally to hire his son, who had just incriminated him in federal fraud. "Deal," Richard croaked. "Dad, no!" Braden yelled. "We can beat him. He's bluffing." "Shut up," Richard roared. He stood up, knocking his chair over. "You have ruined me. Shut up."
Signed the settlement papers on the spot. I walked out of that office building for the last time. As I was getting into my car, I saw Richard and Braden in the lobby through the class doors. Richard was screaming at him, pointing a finger in his face. Braden was crying. That was 48 hours ago. Since then, the fallout has been spectacular. Because Braden had sent that email to the clients, the ones I didn't take have now realized they were being scammed. They are leaving in droves. Richard's firm is bleeding out. I've heard from a former colleague still stuck inside that the forensic accountants are already in the building. Richard is likely facing massive fines, if not jail time, for the insurance fraud. If the feds get involved, he's looking at RICO charges. Braden? He's been fired. Daddy couldn't protect him from this one. I heard he's trying to become a crypto influencer on TikTok now. I am currently staring at my new client roster. I have 85% of the old business. I hired back the 3 support staff Braden fired. We are busy, we are honest, and we are profitable. I didn't destroy them. I just removed the load-bearing wall, me, and let gravity do the rest. Entitlement is a hell of a drug, but competence is the only currency that actually matters in the real world. Richard thought he could buy loyalty with a paycheck and discard it on a whim. He forgot that in our line of work, the relationship is the product. He fired the relationship and he capped the fraud. My phone is ringing again. It's Mr. Sato. He wants to know if we can ship a vintage pinball machine to Osaka. "Yes, sir," I'll say. "I'll handle it personally." TLDR, my boss fired me after 7 years to give my job to his idiot son, thinking he could save money. They forgot my non-compete had expired. The son was so incompetent he accidentally emailed proof of the dad's embezzlement to all the clients while trying to frame me. I took the clients, started my own firm, and the dad is now facing federal fraud charges thanks to his son's strategy. If you like stories about how nepotism is the quickest way to turn a thriving business into a crime scene, go ahead and subscribe. I promise my content is better managed than my ex-boss's retirement fund.